Hi, welcome or welcome back to my decorating series. We're going to go inside and go back to the 12th floor for a recreation room. So, this room actually proved to be a pretty big struggle for me. I originally had this room just in a list based on ideas either that I had of my own or that I looked up, like rooms that could be in a house or in a really fancy house or something like that, or traditional rooms that could be in a home, things like that. And I knew there was at least one object that could go in this room. But I did want to go through the lists and see what else I could pull in here. But I didn't want to repeat stuff because a lot of stuff that went into recreation rooms, I have already made rooms for. I made a games room. I have a lounge, which, you know, you could have a fireplace. I've put a fireplace in a lot of rooms, but music could be in a rec room, things like that. But I really wasn't sure how to make this room different than those other spaces that I had created. So I was pulling a lot of stuff in here that has been in other places with the intention that if they didn't fit, then that would be fine. There it is. The one thing that I knew was going in here was that table tennis thing from Storybook Vale. I believe it's a craftable. And there are two versions of it. There's a red version and a green version. And so I plunked one down, not knowing color scheme, not knowing if it would fit with any of the styles of the other objects in here. Oh, yeah. So I went to Scrooge's shop and also to both the workbench and the time bending table so that I could see if there was anything else that might fit the rec room idea. So here I am trying to figure out some walls and floors and ceiling to go with the objects that I have put in here that might fit in this room. Oh, that was the other thing. It might have music instruments in here. Like, rec room could be a lot of different recreational ideas. So because everything was so different from each other, just in style and color scheme, I knew it was going to be difficult to pick out floors and walls and stuff to go with the things. So I'm just kind of looking at the stuff against the walls to see what goes and what doesn't. Oh, and here I am trying out the green. I do end up picking the red because it's a little bit brighter of a color, and the rest of the objects that are in here are brighter colors. So now I'm trying to, like, is it grays? Is it warms? Is it, you know, like what kind of tone, what kind of texture? And it does take me quite a bit of time to decide just the direction I want to take this room. And so I start taking things out and moving things around because the table tennis thing was 100% the item I knew I wanted in this room. And everything else kind of had to fit in the spaces around it or be gone. So I knew I wanted a fireplace corner. I knew I wanted at least one board game in here, but I did not want to make this a duplicate of the games room that I have already created. So I, made sure to really limit that. And then I wanted to play with some other objects that I don't put in places that often. So some of those coffee tables I picked out were kind of the fact that they looked different. I knew I hadn't used them before, and the colors. So I'm trying to find some more seating, maybe some benches. But again, it goes back to if it doesn't fit, I'm not going to keep it. Oh, and I really wanted this jukebox in there. It is so wildly different than the table tennis thing. I end up leaving it in here, but coming up with a color scheme, you can tell I still don't even have the walls and floors and everything finalized. Actually, I think this is the floor I end up sticking with. But I still have all four walls are different at the moment because I'm still not completely sold on how, like, the direction I want the color scheme to go. I did want to make the board game thing low to the ground so that I could utilize these pillows from Aladdin, just because I liked the idea of people kind of sitting cozy by the fire playing a game of checkers or chess or whatever board game in that particular corner. I liked the idea of having some popcorn in here, a little bit of snacks, not quite as snack heavy as the games room that I've already created. But Yeah, this is where I decide that it's going to be kind of blues and reds and gold orange, like that kind of color scheme. And it helps to have this really bright blue wall balance out the big table, the red table tennis piece, because I also go with this really over-the-top door because it's got red and blue in it. And I don't know if everyone's going to agree with how this room pulls together color-wise, but because the elements were all so different from each other, I think I actually did okay pulling this kind of weird coloring group together in the end. It's really bold, it's really bright. The jukebox still really isn't quite right because it's purple and very, well, it's glowing. And it's kind of its own feel over there, but I liked the idea of a jukebox being in here, so I had to accept the fact that this room was going to be really different and that maybe in the future some other things will come along that I could come back in when I do go back through and maybe make things make a little bit more sense, or at least have other things to add to the space that will kind of tie everything together even better. But we have to work within the limitations that we have, so I think it turned out all right considering what we have to work with in here. I also thought this would be a good room for the collectibles. I've been really wanting to put the Space Ranger suit somewhere, and oh yeah, I could not decide on lighting, and these lanterns felt right as far as color scheme, but I put a lot of them in here. So I'm not sure if that's going to be for everyone either, but I kind of liked the fact that they were like an orangey yellow glow because none of the other lights really worked, and I couldn't get any lights to fit above the table tennis thing, so trying to make it feel like everywhere in the room was lit kind of evenly was tricky to do because I couldn't put anything directly over the net part of the table. So these worked pretty well for making it feel really full. And of course, I wanted to try and get some plants in here. It was tough because some of the taller plants won't go under the lanterns, so it made it kind of tricky to fit stuff in here. But I didn't really need a ton of green, and then I also had to keep reminding myself that if this room turns out to not have as much stuff as I tend to like to do, it's okay. It's okay if this room is a little bit simpler. It doesn't have to be super complicated. This can be a really calm, simple hangout space that's dedicated to a couple of activities and a couple of collectibles and a snack. And it's meant to be more of a private space. It could be for like if someone's spending the night, like maybe your kids, the kids that live here, quote unquote, have a buddy over or a group of friends over, and then they play some table tennis, maybe eat some popcorn and just hang out. And it doesn't have to be, crazy over the top or crazy it doesn't have to be super unified, I think is what I'm going for, what I'm trying to explain. But here I went ahead and made some food. I wanted the Wonderland cookies in particular because I put that little door set. You can't go in those doors, but I thought it might be cute to be like, if you want to eat a cookie and go in a secret door, here you go. But yeah, pulling just last minute stuff together as usual, kind of simplifying down and making the lanterns all spaced out as evenly as I could. All right, well, let's go inside and check it out. So this room was a bit tricky. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really think about the fact that I really only had one object that I knew for certain was gonna define this room, but it was a good thing to challenge myself. I like the fact that I finally found a home for all of those little space collectibles. I wish the chalkboard was a little bit smaller because I was like, oh, how would you, it would be good to keep score. I could see people running scores there. especially people that live in the house, maybe like siblings or something are playing table tennis regularly and want to keep score. I like the fact that the jukebox is in here, even if it doesn't quite match the rest of the color scheme. But I actually really like how the blues and reds and kind of golden, orangey yellows all pulled together. They were so different, all of these objects, the style. But I really love how the lighting in here looks at night. I love the fact that there's a blue flame along with the orangey yellow lights, the lanterns, because it kind of makes the color scheme feel like it goes together, even in the lighting, which I really enjoyed in the last room that I did, the living room with the pinks and purples. So I feel like this floor might be a space to try out some really bold color combinations. Maybe not in every room, but it's fun to kind of experiment with it, because if you can't make the styles go together, you can do other things. Textures could go together, color schemes can go together, and it's always good to just give yourself a little bit of a challenge to see what you can come up with. That's it for today's decorating adventure. If you liked this video, a thumbs up is a great way to let me know, and a subscription will keep you up to date on my latest shenanigans. If you want to hang out with me live, I stream on YouTube and Twitch on Thursday evenings and middays on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely day, night, time, wherever you are, whenever you are, and I'll see you next time.